Welcome back to another comic flip video. This is the last installment of my top 3 picks for the week of April 10th, 2019. So last up we have Symbiote Spider-Man number 1. I went with the limb cover. This book is written by Peter David, penciler Greg Land, inker Jay Leiston, colorist Frank D'Armata, letterer VC's Joe Sabino. So this is set in the events after Secret Wars, just after Peter gets the symbiote suit. He thinks it's a computer, he doesn't believe it's a living thing, and they actually joke about that within the book. And this book also largely revolves around Mysterio, which is an interesting choice since we know that the new Spider-Man movie that's coming out, the main villain is Mysterio, aka Quentin Beck. So this book opens with Mysterio basically getting his ass handed to him by Spidey. He sees a picture of him and his old MIT roommate Johnny on the floor, and then it flashes back. And this book is separated into chapters. We have chapter 1, the plan. You have Quentin Beck and Johnny sitting down at a bar, and it's revealed that Johnny actually works for the Kingpin. He's a scientist for the Kingpin, and Johnny apparently knows that the Kingpin is a mass murderer, and he kind of makes fun of Mysterio for being like a B-list villain or even a D-list, quipping that Power Pack could whip his ass. And so Johnny basically questions how villainous Quentin is because compared to Wilson Fisk, Mysterio has never killed anyone, whereas Wilson Fisk is a murderer. And then Quentin reveals that his master plan is to rob a bank so he could retire. And Johnny kind of, makes fun of him and says, "I wish you luck, friend." So the next panels, you see Mysterio robbing the bank. He interacts with the teller. Then a security guard stops them and he goes to shoot Mysterio, but Mysterio hits him and he actually ends up shooting the teller. And Mysterio feels absolutely awful about this. I think this book does a good job of trying to humanize the villain in this case. And right after that sequence of Mysterio robbing the bank, we go into chapter 2, which is jokingly called Sometime Later. And Spidey is running with a painting, and he's running away from the Fly, which is kind of funny. Spider-Man and the Fly. And then the next big splash page, you get a picture of Spidey jumping the Twin Towers, which when I first saw this page, I was actually shocked that they put this in. I could remember back when the first Spider-Man movie came out, the Sam Raimi trilogy. All the promo had the Twin Towers in it, and unfortunately, September 11th occurred before the movie could come out, so they had to go back and rework all their promo material for the movie. Overall, it works. Spidey's able to mind the gap due to the new suits, and he continues to fight off the human Fly, and he finds out that I was trying to take the Scream, which is a famous painting. I'll show it up on the screen here. So the point of this chapter is to show off Spidey's new abilities, how badass they are with the suit. Then it jumps to chapter 3. You got Spidey passed out. You got good old J. Jonah on the old tube TV. I remember having one of those. And then in old Spidey fashion, of course, he's late on the rent, so someone asks for the rent, and Felicia Hardy just pops on through the window, and, Peter Parker shouldn't come through the window. And Felicia fires back, "Well, you complain about me coming through the window as Black Cat, so I figured I'd come in as Felicia Hardy." He shows off the suit, and she's like, "That thing is definitely alive." And he's like, "No, it's not. It's alien technology. It's a computer." How little does he know at this point? And you find out it is the anniversary of Uncle Ben's death. So Pete takes Felicia to the cemetery, and they meet up with Aunt May. And that's, I believe, Aunt May and Felicia's first meeting, because they end up having a whole conversation together, while Quentin Beck is also at the same cemetery. He is mourning Audrey Henning, who was the teller that was accidentally shot when Mysterio hit the security guard out of the way. Pete actually notices him, but he's weirded out because his Spidey sense isn't going off. And he's kind of freaked out about this, so he ends up showing up at Mysterio's lair while Mysterio is questioning if he should give up being a supervillain, and Spider-Man proceeds to give him a whooping, and I believe we're caught up to the beginning of the book at this point. Spidey basically admits to checking the gravestone that Quentin was checking out, and he's like, that person was killed at a robbery, and I know you were there, I know you're behind it. And Quentin flat out lies. He's like, no, I was mourning my sister. This gives him enough time so that Spidey actually hesitates and is like, oh my god, I made a mistake. And because he hesitates, Mysterio takes advantage of the situation and actually blows the joint. Spidey's able to make it out in time, of course, but he's like, I hate Mysterio. Then it jumps to Black Cat and Aunt May leaving the cemetery. They have a brief exchange. Aunt May's like, hey, do you think you could convince Peter to go back to college? And Felicia's like, I'll see what I can do. And she basically admits to being Peter Parker's lover. The very last page, Mysterio sees Peter changing from the symbiote into his normal street clothes, basically setting up the next few issues. So I really like the premise of this comic book run. I think it's a really good idea to go back to when Spidey just gets the suit and what happens between that time and him figuring out that it's an alien symbiote trying to take over his brain. At no point do I feel the comic is dragging. There's not a lot of word bubbles on the pages. There is a healthy mix of conversation and action. I look forward to learning more about Johnny and Quinn's relationship, and anytime Black Cat is in a book, I love it. Black Cat is one of my faves. There's a couple of good splash pages in here. The one that stands out the most is the Twin Tower one. The art is good. I hope the new issues coming out hold up. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed this review or the other two that I did. Let me know in the comments down below if you would like to see more of this in the future. I will catch you guys in the next video.